You have just heard the rumbling and trumpeting of an African elephant, and this is part one of Elephants Among Us, Africa's Gentle Giants, a three-part series from Our Wild World. Welcome to Our Wild World. I'm your host, Dr. John David Alferts. I've been an educator for over 38 years, serving as an adjunct professor, superintendent, principal, and teacher. When I'm not teaching, I'm traveling with my wife, Christina, also an educator and a conservationist, into the wild to see our two-legged, four-legged, and winged friends in the animal kingdom. Together, we sat in the cloud forest, entertained by the shenanigans of a baby mountain gorilla as she hung from a vine and played on the stomach of her silverback dad. We've been startled as we sat by the campfire in the Okavango Delta by the thunderous roaring of two aggressive hippos who shook the ground as they fought just behind our tents. We've been woken from our sleep by a curious African lion who laid down outside our tent and played with our tent bag before carrying it off into the bush. I've hiked through the forest, accompanied only by a young ranger, to come within 75 yards of an elephant family drinking from a stream. At Meru National Park in Kenya, Christina and I came eye to eye with a black mamba who lifted herself up just 12 feet from us, her beady eyes and flickering tongue warning us that she was about to strike. After all my time in the bush, I have a story or two to tell, so it makes sense that I'm combining my passion for teaching with my passion for wildlife to launch Our Wild World, introducing listeners to, as the Lakota would say, Mitakuye Oyasin, or all our relations in the animal kingdom. Each episode is meticulously researched and includes my first-hand observations from the bush. I think you'll find it's a podcast like no other. As you listen, be sure to check out our sister social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky for photos and videos that Christina and I have taken of the wildlife featured in each podcast episode. Now, let's begin. In this special three-part Elephants Among Us series of Our Wild World, we will explore the savanna elephants of Africa. Elephants are highly intelligent, emotional, and social beings, and you'll learn all about their strong family bonds, their social behavior, the different roles of males and females, their unique anatomy, and the truly amazing discoveries being made on elephant communication. Elephants are the gardeners and architects of Africa, spreading seeds and creating habitat wherever they go. Yet they could disappear within our lifetime due to poaching, habitat loss, and climate change without our help. You'll learn about brave ethologists such as Ian Douglas Hamilton, Cynthia Moss, and Joyce Poole, who have contributed vastly to our knowledge of these remarkable creatures and have dedicated their lives to elephant conservation. My wife Chris and I have studied elephants in Kenya, Tanzania, Botswana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Uganda, and our own adventures will be included. Today's elephants are descendants of both mastodons and mammoths. Mastodons evolved first about 25 million years ago and were once found on every continent. They were smaller and hairier than today's elephants. Mammoths appeared about 1.8 million years ago and roamed every continent except for South America and Australia. Mammoths were about the same size as elephants, but much hairier. Both mastodons and mammoths appeared in the cave paintings of early man. While early man hunted mammoths, it is not believed to be why they went extinct. Rather, a changing climate, a threat today as well with global warming, is believed to have affected their food supply and led to the extinction of mammoths and mastodons and the rise of their modern-day descendant, elephants. In 1930, there were approximately 10 million elephants in Africa. Today, there are just 415,000 African savanna and forest elephants left in the world, and approximately 40 to 50,000 Asian elephants. There are three species of elephants: African savanna elephants, African forest elephants, and Asian elephants. African elephants are larger than Asian elephants and have larger ears. Elephants weigh 200 pounds, or 91 kilograms, when they are born. Adult African savanna elephants weigh between 5,000 and 14,000 pounds, or 2,268 kilograms to 6,350 kilograms. Asian elephants are smaller and weigh about 4,000 to 10,000 pounds, or 1,814 kilograms to 4,536 kilograms. That said, a typical elephant weighs about as much as 70 humans. Savanna elephants are also immensely tall and can reach up to 13 feet, or 4 meters, at their shoulders. Elephants are herbivores. As such, they eat grass, leaves, shrubs, branches, and fruit. Because of their size, African elephants need a lot of food and water. They eat up to 300 pounds, or 135 kilograms, of food, and 50 gallons, or 190 liters, of water per day. Elephants drink every day. If they have to, though, females and young can go up to 2 days without drinking. Bull elephants can go up to 3 days without drinking. Elephants spend about 16 hours a day eating. To help chew so much vegetation and fruit, elephants get 6 sets of teeth in their lifetime. At Kenya's Samburu National Reserve in 2022, Christina and I observed a large family of elephants, some of whom were teething. When their new teeth are coming in, elephants will chew on bark to help ease the discomfort. As an elephant mom chewed on the bark, her baby stayed close to her. Mom was also modeling for her baby what to do to help the teeth come in. When an elephant grows very old, its last set of teeth may wear out. Other elephants in their family will then escort the elderly elephant to an area with particularly soft grass and shrubs to help them with their digestion. Their treatment of the elderly is yet another example of how empathetic and caring elephants are to their own species as well as to others. Elephants are a keystone species, meaning that they strongly shape the communities they inhabit. They have a profound ecological impact on their environment, and other species depend upon them. Elephants have a cascading effect on other species, meaning that what elephants need for survival is what other species do as well. For example, lions, giraffes, leopards, and cheetahs use the same pathways that elephants forage. In times of extreme drought, local villagers will even use the same water holes that elephants are able to dig with their trunks, tusks, and feet. My wife, Christina, and I saw examples of this when we were at Samburu National Reserve in 2022. It was the second time my wife and I had visited Samburu. The first time, in 2018, Samburu had received proper rain and was a lush paradise. The reserve was a magical place, teeming with wildlife. There were baby elephants everywhere. We bushed camp and woke to the sound of branches rustling. An elephant was right outside our tent, feeding on the acacia trees above us. We weren't concerned at all, as elephants are very gentle and careful not to trample even the smallest of animals. Chris and I returned to Samburu in 2022, 4 years after our first trip there, and we found it a very different place. Samburu had endured 2 years of drought without any rain at all. In 2022, it was experiencing the worst drought in 40 years. Droughts are much more frequent now due to climate change, which is threatening the survival of both people and wildlife. In 2018, our bush camp, located on the banks of the Ewaso Nyiro River, felt like we were camping in the center of Eden. In 2022, the same bush camp felt like we were camping in the Sahara Desert. Instead of elephants in our campsite, we now had camels, as pastoralists brought their camels and livestock into the reserve in a desperate attempt to keep them alive, further reducing the scarce food supply available to the struggling wildlife. From our campsite, you could see the bridge built for vehicles to cross the wide river. There was no need for the bridge in 2022 because there was no longer any river to speak of. It was completely dried up. At night, the winds picked up. Instead of relief from the heat, they made things worse as they whipped up sandstorms. Despite the heat, we had to keep our tent's mesh windows closed or we'd be covered in dirt. Even so, we sneezed out lots of dirt every morning. During the daytime, we watched as elephant families used their trunks and front legs to dig in the sand of what had once been the river. They'd dig and dig until they'd form a little pool of water. As soon as they did, villagers seemed to come out of nowhere to shoo the elephants away and to get a much-needed drink themselves. The elephants would move away, let the humans drink, and then return themselves. Although incredibly sad, the connection between elephants and humans was on full display. The villagers depended upon the elephants to dig the wells that they too benefited from. At least 74 elephants and 49 gravy zebras died in the Samburu-Laikipia ecosystem in 2022. The loss of the gravy zebras was particularly tragic as they are listed as most threatened, with only 2,500 remaining in the wild. Among the deaths related to the drought throughout Kenya were 512 wildebeests, 430 zebras, 205 elephants, and 51 buffaloes. Over 2 million livestock perished. At Samburu, we saw the remains of one poor bull elephant who had likely walked for countless miles to get to Samburu in the hopes of finding water. He died alongside a small pool of water, too worn out to drink. Climate change is real and threatens the existence of all life on this planet, both humans and wildlife. After we left Samburu, I prayed every night for months that the reserve would finally get rain. Eventually, the rain did come, and conditions improved significantly in 2024. Once again, the Eden that is Samburu returned, and from all reports, the elephants were once again delighting in the plentiful vegetation and water. Kenya, roughly the size of the U.S. state of Texas, has approximately 42 different ethnic tribes. The Samburu Nature Reserve is run by the local Samburu people and managed by the Samburu County government, which manages the balance between tourism, wildlife, and the Samburu pastoralists. The interaction we saw between the Samburu people and the elephants at the watering holes the elephants dug is symbolic of the close relationship that the Samburu people have always had with elephants. The Samburu have many legends about the close relationship they have shared with elephants, including the following, which details how the Samburu people and the elephants once lived together. In the beginning of time, the Samburu people and the elephants lived together, sharing the Samburu manyatas, a traditional circle of huts with a thorn wall around it and a place for livestock in the center. The women and the elephants used to work together, doing the daily chores in and around the home, with the elephant helping the women to fetch water and firewood. Early one morning, while the village was asleep, an elephant decided to be helpful and set out to collect firewood. He returned with the biggest log he could carry. The women became angry when they saw the size of the log, and they shouted at the elephant, "What do you think we can cook with a log this big? The only thing we can cook with this log is an elephant!" Wanting to appease the women, the elephant tried again, but this time he collected the smallest twigs he could find, and he took them back to the manyatta. But when he returned, the women once again became angry. "You are a very stupid animal. The sticks are so small that we will only be able to cook insects with them." The elephant became very upset and angry with the women for their ingratitude, so he began storming all around the manyatta, trying to break everything. He then ran into one of the huts, picked up a cowhide, and threw it over his head. However, the cowhide suddenly turned into big flapping ears. Being very embarrassed, the elephant stormed off into the bush. Since this happened, the Samburu and the elephants have lived apart. The elephants still help the Samburu women, by making paths leading to water, by breaking branches, making it easier for the women to collect firewood. The Samburu respect elephants because of their shared history with them. The following Samburu legend explains why they honor the remains of an elephant when they come across them. In the time of the first people, a young girl was preparing to leave the manyatta, the traditional circle of huts, to get married. Her father warned her not to look back at the family manyatta or to feel sad when she leaves. But when the young girl left the manyatta with her new husband, she had a heavy heart, and she looked back at her family home. God was watching from afar and saw that the young girl disobeyed her father, so God decided to punish her. That night, as the young girl was sleeping with her new husband in their manyatta, something strange happened. She started to swell until she was so large that she turned into an elephant. The elephant then ran away into the night. Samburu legend has it that all elephants are descendants from this girl, and all elephants and Samburu share the same blood. To support this legend, the elders point out that an elephant only has 2 teats in between its front legs, and that there are sections of the elephant's body that's not covered with hair, similarities shared with humans. To this day, when coming across an elephant skull in the bush, the Samburu elders will place green grass, which they have spat on, atop the skull as a sign of respect. Tourists will see examples of this when they have seen an elephant skull at Samburu. The survival of elephants is part of a greater question concerning whether or not nature itself will endure. Elephants have an incredibly beneficial impact on the environment. Despite their immense size, elephants are happy being vegetarians. The elephant digestion system breaks down only about 40% of their food. As such, they disperse seeds, minerals, and nutrients through their rich dung, perfect for growing over very long distances. A single elephant may spread seeds over 35.4 miles or 57 kilometers in just one day. Many other animals depend upon elephant dung and its contents as food. Mongoose, hornbills, baboons, and monkeys, to name just a few. Humans also depend upon the elephants to disperse the seeds for the plants and fruit that they eventually consume. Elephant dung has other beneficial uses as well. Because elephants are vegetarians, elephant dung isn't foul-smelling at all. Listeners may already be aware that elephant dung is frequently used to make eco-friendly paper products such as notebooks, cards, and boxes. Many fair goods stores will sell these products, even here in the United States. But elephant dung has more traditional uses for indigenous people. On a walking safari in South Africa, our guide stopped and picked up some dry elephant dung. He explained that indigenous people have traditionally looked to the bush for herbal medicines. African tribal doctors believe that smoking elephant dung cured headaches and congestion. Smoking elephant dung has an almost immediate effect and can provide rapid relief for headaches. Weight loss also has been attributed to smoking elephant dung. Our guide explained that once he himself began smoking it, he began shedding pounds. He then lit the dung and passed it around to our group, giving each of us the chance to partake. We held the smoking dung in our hands and deeply inhaled the smoke. I took 3 long drags from the smoking dung. My wife also took several long drags. Almost immediately, both of us felt that our sinuses were cleared out. Smoking the dung also gave us a slight high, a somewhat euphoric, relaxed, and slightly loopy feeling. It definitely had a psychedelic effect that lasted for about 30 minutes. The moment was captured on film by several of our friends, and these pictures and many others are loaded on our companion Instagram and Facebook pages. Elephants live in tight matriarchal family groups. Herds consist of 8 to 100 individuals, depending upon the terrain and family size. Because elephants are extremely intelligent animals with memories that span many years, Matriarchs play an essential role within their family groups. For example, during times of drought, matriarchs will guide their families, sometimes for tens of miles, to watering holes that they remember from their past. When we study elephants, we not only learn about them, but we learn from them. Western cultures today are the most youth-centered cultures in human history. Western cultures have lost the value placed on the aged that Eastern cultures have long employed. Instead of saying how old you are on someone's birthday, as we do in the West, Eastern cultures may ask, how many years wise are you? Elephants also embrace this respect for the aged. Ethologists have shown that the most successful family groups with the highest survival rates during extreme drought are led by the oldest, most experienced matriarchs who know where to find alternate food and water sources. Anyone who has ever looked into the eye of an elephant understands their beauty. It's almost as if the eye of an elephant provides a window into their beautiful and gentle soul. My wife and I have taken lots of pictures of elephant eyes, and you can find them too on our accompanying Instagram and Facebook pages. Elephants have dichromatic vision, which means they can see the colors blue and yellow, but reds and greens are not as distinguishable. Elephants are also an arrhythmic species, which means they can see as well in dim light as they can in the light of the day. Their eyes are fairly well equipped for travel or activity during the darkest hours of the night. Elephants have long, beautiful eyelashes, which protect them from sand, dirt, and thorny branches in the dense vegetation. It is impossible to look into the eyes of an elephant and not feel moved to do all that you can to protect them. Elephants have padded, flat feet. Under each heel is a large pad of gristle, which acts as a shock absorber, enabling them to walk quietly. Like humans, elephants have 5 toes on each foot, though not every toe has a nail. They have 5 toenails on their front feet, but only 4 on their back feet. As with human fingerprints, the pattern of fissures and ridges left by the sole of a particular elephant is quite distinctive and can be used to identify whether the elephant is a bull or a female. The sensitivity of their padded feet aids the elephant's ability to communicate, as we will learn later. The tusks of an elephant serve as the elephant's multi-purpose tool. Tusks can help the elephant break off branches, peel off bark, dig for water, or ward off an aggressor. Tusks are actually the elephant's teeth and are made of dentin, just like human teeth. But elephants don't use them to chew. Sadly, human beings developed a sick, perverse fetish for elephant teeth, which we call ivory, thousands of years ago, and began killing elephants just for their ivory. It is this grotesque craving for ivory that has fueled the genocide of elephants that has taken place in the 20th and 21st centuries. It is a ghoulish obsession that must end. Ivory belongs to elephants, nobody else. I will discuss the horrific elephant genocide and what is being done to stop it at the end of this 3-part series on elephants. Elephants are highly intelligent animals. Elephant brains weigh 3 times as much as human brains. The African elephant brain has more neurons than the human brain. And I'm not just saying a few more, a full 3 times the number of neurons, 257 billion to our 86 billion neurons. Even accounting for their larger size, the elephant brain is much, much larger than ours. Given that humans have long used brain size as a measure of intelligence when comparing species, it certainly is plausible that elephants may be more intelligent than people. Just because they don't destroy their environment and transform it into something else doesn't mean they are less intelligent than humans. Rather, they live more in harmony with their natural surroundings. I happen to think that they have a superior intellect to people. They are not motivated by greed or intolerance as humans often are. Elephants don't shoot each other or create weapons of mass destruction that threaten to annihilate all life on Earth. Humans are not the measure of all things. Animals do not need to be more like us. Sometimes humans need to be more like them. Need I say more? Elephants communicate both verbally and non-verbally through at least 3 different methods: audible vocalizations, rumblings through their feet, and especially infrasound. Dr. Joyce Poole, who began her career studying elephants at Kenya's Amboseli National Park in 1975, alongside her mentor, Dr. Cynthia Moss, found that elephants use more than 70 kinds of vocal sounds and 160 different visual and tactile signals, expressions, and gestures in their day-to-day interactions. Perhaps the most amazing anatomical feature of an elephant is its glorious and multifaceted trunk. The elephant's trunk can be used for such diverse tasks as shifting a 1,300-pound, 600-kilogram log to picking up an egg without cracking it. The trunk serves both as an elephant's arm and as the elephant's nose. The trunk is able to be so flexible because it is boneless and contains up to 100,000 muscles that can bend easily. It is 6.5 feet or 2 meters long and weighs around 300 pounds or 140 kilograms. The trunk has a small finger-like lip at the end, which can distinguish between size, shape, texture, hot and cold. Elephants use their trunks to feed and drink by bringing food and water to the mouth, breathe, make noises, caress their young, and play. Elephants love to swim, and they can also use their amazing trunks as snorkels when they are totally submerged in the water. To protect their sensitive skin from the hot sun, elephants will also take mud baths. If the mud pool is large enough, youngsters will submerge themselves just as if they were swimming with only the tip of their trunk raised as a snorkel. Adults will use their trunk to suck up the mud and spray it all over their backs and heads. Trunks can hold 1.5 gallons or 6 liters of water, and they're often used as a flexible shower. The trunk is a superb organ of smell and is directed easily towards the source. Mammals detect smells through olfactory receptor genes located in our noses. Humans have approximately 396 olfactory receptor genes. The dogs we live with have double that, roughly 800. But elephants, well, they have more than any other mammal. 1,948 olfactory receptors. Thanks to those olfactory receptors, an elephant's trunk can detect even the smallest parcels of food hundreds of feet away. In times of drought, they can smell water even below the ground. Hence, they know where to start digging. Elephants can detect as many as 30 different members of their extended families by smell alone. Ethologists also believe that the trunk plays an important role in nonverbal communication and is used as a form of greeting, warning, and gesturing, communicating their goals as they do so. It's a great photo opportunity for delighted tourists when an elephant raises their trunk high up into the air. Indigenous people believe that it is a sign of good luck when an elephant raises their trunk into the air. Ethologists have shown that a raised trunk is an elephant's nonverbal form of greeting. While there's no doubt that the raised trunk is a form of nonverbal communication, some ethologists suspect that a raised trunk also indicates that an elephant is using its infrasound communication ability. In watching elephants in the field, I too believe that elephants may be raising their trunks when they are using infrasound or telepathy to communicate. Infrasound is below the frequency of human hearing, typically below 20 hertz. Elephants, giraffes, whales, and dolphins use infrasound to communicate over vast distances. It is believed that elephants can use infrasound through the air or through ground vibrations to communicate with others up to 10 miles or 6 kilometers away. Ethologists are studying elephant infrasound frequencies to better understand their language. Perhaps someday we will be able to communicate with them through infrasound. Because elephant language is so complex and elephants are able to communicate over such long distances, their understanding of others seems more complex than mere words and can even feel telepathic at times. Dr. Joyce Poole has studied elephant language extensively and has suggested that their sophisticated language skills, while not magic, may make it appear that they have psychic abilities. Elephant conservationists such as Daphne Sheldrick, founder of the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, a very successful elephant orphanage in Nairobi, and Lawrence Anthony, author of The Elephant Whisperer, also believed elephant infrasound skills may have telepathic-like abilities. There are certainly plenty of extraordinary, well-documented incidents that reveal that elephants have an uncanny understanding of others. Lawrence Anthony was a conservationist who saved 2 herds of elephants. The formerly violent rogue elephants were destined to be shot as pests before they were rescued and rehabilitated by Anthony at his Thula Thula Game Reserve in South Africa. At first, the elephants kept trying to escape the protected home that Anthony had built for them. Undeterred, Anthony believed they would stop trying to escape if he could gain their trust. Anthony regularly spoke to the herd, sang to them, and camped out with them. Eventually, the elephants accepted him and stopped trying to leave the reserve. Their numbers grew to 21, and Anthony doubled the size of the reserve. Nana, the matriarch, would extend her remarkable trunk out to Anthony and caress his face, as if he were a member of the family when she saw him. Of his relationship with the herd, Anthony wrote, "The elephants talk to me if they want to. If they don't want to, I don't insist. I just listen." Sadly, Lawrence Anthony died of a sudden heart attack at the age of 62 in 2012 while visiting Johannesburg to advance the mission of Thula Thula. Back at Thula Thula, the news devastated Anthony's wife, Francois. Thula Thula had grown to 11,119 acres, or 500 hectares, and now had a luxury lodge and tented camp, still open today. The sudden loss of their boss shattered the staff of 70, who had called Anthony by his Zulu name, Mikulu, or grandfather. Francois knew she needed to be strong for them, but she couldn't be, and she stayed in her room for 2 days, mourning the sudden loss of the husband that she loved. Then, on the 2nd day after his death, there was a great commotion from the staff. "They are here!" they kept saying. Francois left her bedroom to see what was going on. Outside, led by Nana, all 21 elephants from 2 separate herds had formed a line, watching the house. They had been grazing miles away, and they must have traveled 12 hours to reach the house. For more than an hour, the 2 herds stood, sometimes marching up and down the fence, their stomachs grumbling. This was highly unusual behavior. Prior to this visit, the elephants hadn't visited the compound where Anthony lived for over a year and a half. Anthony's son Jason reported, "In coming up there on the day of all days, we certainly believed that they had sensed it, Anthony's death." Everyone knew that the elephants had come to pay their last respects. For 2 days, the herds loitered at Anthony's compound to say goodbye to the man that they loved. Even more remarkable, 1 year later, on March 4th, the anniversary of Anthony's death, the elephants returned once again led by Nana. They did so again on the second anniversary of his death and on the third. Do you see why some researchers think that elephants may be telepathic? In 2019, deep in Botswana's Okavango Delta, a middle-aged bull elephant, we estimated him to be about 45 years old, came up right behind our tent at our campsite every morning. I slowly, non-threateningly went behind our tent to see him. All that separated us was a large fallen branch. The rest of our small Exodus group stayed a little bit further away, a safer distance. I had the view all to myself. I was so close to the bull that I could see the whiskers on his chin. I spoke to the elephant, and I told him that I loved him. I told him that people were tricky, that there were bad people out there, that he needed to stay away from them. I told him that my little group wasn't tricky, and that he could trust us. I apologized for how people have treated elephants. I promised him that I would do everything I could to help him and his kind for the rest of my days. I don't know if it's the tone of our voice or some kind of infrasound telepathic-like ability, but the connection we can forge with elephants, if we are pure of heart, is indeed remarkable. I felt as though he understood me. He came back to the same spot to greet us each night that we camped in the Okavango Delta. Dr. Ian Douglas Hamilton, the great champion of elephants and the founder of both Save the Elephants and the Elephant Crisis Fund, believed that whether through infrasound, telepathy, or something else, elephants are able to distinguish good people from those that would do them harm. I've had numerous encounters in the bush that seem to confirm that. At Tsavo West in 2024, on safari with my wife Chris and our friend and guide Rufus, we encountered a family feeding in a beautiful spot with mountains in the backdrop. We surprised them, however, and the mother matriarch mock-charged us trumpeting. We backed away. Immediately I began sending the matriarch messages of peace and love. I noticed that she put her trunk up in the air as if she was receiving my communication. I knew immediately that everything was going to be fine, and it was. We drew closer, and we watched the matriarch and her family in awe. She seemed to invite us to do so. Chris took some beautiful pictures of her lovely eyes. The following day, we had a similar encounter with a couple of bulls. Our Land Rover startled them. One bull trumpeted and charged us. Both Chris and I sent them our telepathic messages of peace and love. The bull put his trunk up in the air as if he was listening. Then he and his friends accepted our presence. After nearly 60 years of studying elephants, Dr. Cynthia Moss has said, "It's not difficult to stay inspired when one is dealing with elephants. They are infinitely inspirational, long-lived, intelligent, intensely social, charismatic, empathetic, amusing, endearing, and more. Anyone could be inspired by elephants without ever seeing them in the wild. Of course, there are bad days when it seems impossible to conserve elephants. But I have never once thought of giving up. There is nothing heroic or commendable about my position. There is simply no choice for me." That concludes this first episode of this 3-part series, Elephants Amongst Us, Africa's Gentle Giants. Part 2 will further explore elephant communication, particularly their use of infrasound and the silent thunder of seismic ground vibrations, as well as the unique roles of matriarchs and bull elephants. Part 3 will explore elephant adolescence and play, elephant mourning, the genocide that has threatened elephants with extinction, the work of Dr. Ian Douglas Hamilton's Save the Elephants, and what you can do to ensure that we will always have a world with elephants in it. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my hero, Dr. Ian Douglas Hamilton, the great champion of elephants. Dr. Douglas Hamilton began his work on behalf of elephants in 1965 at the age of 23 at Lake Manyara National Park in Tanzania. He introduced the world to elephants as highly emotional, sentient beings with his book Among the Elephants and Battle of the Elephants, written with his wife Ora. His aerial surveys of Africa's elephant population revealed the magnitude of the elephant genocide from 1979 to 1989, when the elephant population dropped in half. His findings helped lead to the worldwide ban on ivory. Dr. Douglas Hamilton worked with African countries to increase anti-poaching efforts and to protect elephant habitat. In 1993, he founded Save the Elephants, which continues to track elephants, monitoring their population, protecting their habitat, reducing poaching, and human-elephant conflict. Save the Elephants also provides scholarships to Samburu tribal members. In 2013, Dr. Douglas Hamilton also launched the Elephant Crisis Fund to award grants to groups big and small who had demonstrated success in promoting elephant conservation. Last year, the film A Life Among Elephants was released, documenting his extraordinary work to save this magnificent species. In the film's final moments, an optimistic Dr. Ian Douglas Hamilton is seen watching one of his beloved elephants at Samburu National Reserve. "Hello, how are you?" Dr. Douglas Hamilton coos to the elephant. "Isn't it wonderful to see this orphan survive with her own calf? I think my greatest hope for the future is that there will be an ethic developed of human-elephant coexistence, and Samburu is a great place to start, because there is really a rich culture of interest in nature and elephants in particular. I have a side of me that is really quite optimistic." Sadly, Dr. Douglas Hamilton left us at the age of 83 on December 8th, 2025. Thank you for a life well led. Please be sure to check out our Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, or web pages for pictures my wife and I have taken of elephants during our African elephant expeditions. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like it and tell your friends. You can contact me at ourwildworldshow@gmail.com. If you are moved to help elephants by this podcast, then I encourage you to donate to Save the Elephants or the Elephant Crisis Fund. Both of them were started by Dr. Ian Douglas Hamilton and are affiliated with the Wildlife Conservation Network. Both Save the Elephants and the Elephant Crisis Fund have the highest ratings possible from CharityNavigator.com, GiveWell, and Charity Watch. They are my two favorite charities. If you do donate to them, please mention this podcast. It just helps to get the word out that we're here and educating folks on the importance of wildlife and of wildlife conservation. Part 2 of Among the Elephants, Africa's Gentle Giants, will be released in 3 weeks' time. So please join me again when that's out. And remember, every breath you take connects you with every other living being on this planet. You are a part of nature. Love it, protect it, and nature will never disappoint you, strengthening and healing you in return. Thank you, and goodbye.